Hey guys, welcome to Bible Fun with the Duns. It's just me, and I just want to take a second to talk to you parents as we come across things in the Bible that we may have questions about. Recently in 1 Samuel, I think it's chapter 16 and then 17 and 18, we hear about this evil spirit from the Lord coming upon Saul after Saul messed up and the Lord rejected him as king. In chapter 16, it's verse 14, and it says, "Now the Spirit of the Lord had departed from Saul, and an evil spirit from the Lord tormented him." So if your house is anything like mine, you have kids asking you, "What? An evil spirit from the Lord?" And if you're anything like me, you want to know more also. And so I've done some digging and some research to answer my own questions and also to figure out how to answer my kids' questions. So I looked into the ESV Study Bible. I looked into the Bible Recap by Tara-Leigh Cobble, and I also looked into one of my favorite commentaries, Matthew Henry. The ESV Study Bible says that the Spirit of the Lord departed from Saul, and this is referring to Saul losing the Spirit's empowering him for the role of king. In the Bible Recap, Tara-Leigh Cobble tells us that God is never the active agent of evil. He's never the force behind evil. He never does it himself, but he can and he does use the work of evil spirits for his purposes. We see that in the story of Job. When he allows Satan to attack Job, God uses that for his purposes. Evil is all subject to God's sovereignty and to God's authority. The evil spirit leaves when David is playing his music. If you've noticed that, that's where David first comes on the scene in Saul's life. They get him to come play the lyre and to play instruments before him because Saul notices the evil spirit leaves. And I wonder if this could possibly be because the evil spirit is tormented by even being in the same room where Yahweh or God is being worshiped through David's songs. David worships God, and we see in Psalms that most of his music is worship and prayer and relationship with God. And so that's what he plays in his music. And so I find that very interesting. Matthew Henry says, in the Old Testament, God the Spirit moved around a lot. He primarily shows up to equip and to empower someone for a specific task that God gave them. Saul rejected the Holy Spirit in forsaking his duty to God. Samuel points out that every time Saul does his own thing, it's as bad as if he's following a false god and he's following himself. He's making himself a god, really. He did just make a monument to himself. He was put in this position to lead God's people, but since Saul has rejected Yahweh, then Yahweh has rejected him as the leader of his people. He cannot fulfill God's purposes if he's rejected God. Matthew Henry says that when men grieve and they quench the Spirit by willful sin, sinning on purpose, he departs. And those that drive out a good spirit can become prey to an evil spirit. If God and his grace doesn't rule over us, that leaves us open for sin and for Satan to rule us. So remember, when we read the Bible, this is the most important thing to me. This helps me to understand, like, the evil spirit, God is not the active agent behind the evil. He is not causing the evil to happen. But because God is sovereign and God is all powerful, he is in control of these spirits, and he, puts a fence around evil spirits, basically. But we don't read the Bible to have all of our questions answered. We read the Bible so that we can see God. Our aim is not to know everything. Our aim is to know God. So things that I see about God through this place where I'm like, that's kind of interesting. I have lots of questions. Things I can see about God. We can learn God is omnipotent. He's all powerful. We can learn that God is sovereign. He has full control over the spirit world. Even evil spirits and demons have to bow to his authority. And then when we choose to follow God, he wants all of our hearts. He wants all of us. And we can show him that he has our hearts through our obedience. And we see this example over and over again, but most recently through Saul, and we see that he does not have Saul's heart because of his disobedience. If we struggle with obeying God, we probably need to assess ourselves and be sure that we don't have anything that is competing for control over our lives, and these would be idols. When God calls us to something, he will provide for us and he will equip us to do what he has called us to do. Whatever he calls us to do, he wants us to do it through the power of his Holy Spirit, not through our power and not our own way. He is to be feared. He is to be revered and respected. He is to be given the throne of our hearts. So those are the things that I can know about God through this passage. I hope to continue to get on and touch on these things that we struggle and wrestle and grapple with. And if you're like me, John looks over and says, Mom, why did God send an evil spirit? Well, I need to know how to lead and how to guide him. So if y'all have questions as we travel through the Bible, as we deep dive through the Bible, feel free to contact me and ask me these questions, and I'll do some digging. If I don't know the answer, I can ask Preacher Hubs. We have really good resources, and I think it's healthy and good for our faith for us to do that digging and questioning and struggling and wrestling and grappling with these things. So that's what I wanted to share with you guys today, and I hope you all have a great day.